and I'm here today to talk to you about John Maynard Keynes and his interpretation of the Great Depression and how his response led to an evolutionary stage for capitalism. So when you hear capitalism in the news today, you'll hear a lot of controversy around the positivity it brings with the potential of prosperity, but also the negative sides, and a lot of people who talk about the inequality it causes. Now, this is not the first time the validity of capitalism has been questioned. The Great Depression, many people believed, was a culminating crisis for capitalism. One of these people included John Maynard Keynes, the British economist. However, he believed capitalism during the Great Depression was at an evolutionary stage, and that the economic system was not at a revolutionary stage. He believed capitalism would come out improved from the situation, and it would not be overthrown into a situation such as communism or socialism. This summer, I got to spend time at King's College in Cambridge, where Keynes used to lecture, and worked in their archives there, studying through the Keynes papers, which is over 140 boxes of unpublished documents, such as manuscripts, letters, lecture notes, and documents like the one in the blue, which if you can't quite make it out, on the front cover, it says stenciled USA 1934 New Deal. And it's believed that this document Keynes brought with him to Congress in the spring of 1934 to talk to them about what they can do to alleviate the Great Depression in America. It was documents like this that I found most fascinating. I looked at a number of documents from Keynes when he visited America in 1931 and 1934. During that time, he observed high levels of unemployment and economic pessimism due to situations like the collapse of the U.S. stock market. For context, when I talk about this unemployment during the Great Depression, at the height, 1 in 4 people were unemployed, while during the Great Recession in 2008, 1 in 10 people were unemployed. So to Keynes, these high levels of unemployment were a confession of failure for the system and a breakdown of the economic machine. He believed that something needed to be done and this was unacceptable. So while he'd acknowledged this, he also acknowledged what he believed was one of the causes of the Great Depression. He believed the situation started with a fall in prices that led to a decline in business profits, and as business profits declined, they were therefore less incentivized to produce, and therefore needed less workers. As unemployment increased, consumers had less money to spend in the market, and therefore business profits continued to decline. This cycle Keynes referred to as a vicious cycle, and he believed that in order for the Great Depression to end, that this needed to be broken. However, he also acknowledged that in order for this to happen, both sides of the market, both workers and businesses, needed to have what needed profit or jobs. There was a relationship between the two, and no solution would be reached if neither side had it. In many speeches and lectures, Keynes mentioned how one man's cost is another man's income, one man's spending is another man's sales. Keynes took a very holistic perspective to the situation. He wanted both sides of the market to be acknowledged, and not just one side, such as businesses. He understood that if workers didn't receive jobs quickly, it could lead to potential social unrest and even a drop in the standard of living. Whereas businesses had no incentive to produce, given the lack of confidence in the market and that they weren't sure if they would make profit. This is where Keynes' decision and Keynes' solution comes in. He believed that government needed to step in and get the ball rolling. To him, government had the ability to break this vicious cycle from outside of that circle and connection between workers and businesses. With government intervention, Keynes believed they could step in and provide jobs, which we know through situations like the New Deal and public works projects, or even by injecting money into the economy, which could provide and stimulate more consumption, and therefore increase business profits. So while we all hear about government intervention today, and know it's very common in our society, at the time in the 1930s, this was a very radical idea. Many classical economists believe that in a situation like an economic downturn like this, that the system should be untouched, and that in the long run, the economy would fix itself. However, Keynes was not a fan of this. He didn't think that was acceptable, because workers may go without jobs for too long. And as he so astutely points out, in the long run, we're all dead. So to him, there needed to be a solution fast, and it needed to fulfill both the needs of workers and of businesses. In 1934, Keynes addressed the Columbia commencement by talking about what was going on at the time for them. In this speech, he called out firms and classical economists for taking a one-sided approach to the situation. He claimed that individual firms believed that the economic earth was flat, but in reality, that the globe of economic life was round. He also additionally called on classical economists in the situation. To Keynes, the Great Depression and the capitalist system was a whole circle that needed to be acknowledged. Because of this, today, we still see capitalism, and at the time, he went against classical economists who believed that only one side of the market needed to be viewed. To him, both workers needed jobs immediately, and businesses needed their profit in order to produce. In 2000, Time magazine named Keynes one of the most influential thinkers of the 20th century. So while today we still see government intervention, and many economists still debate if that is actually effective in helping with economic downturns, I believe it was his approach to the Depression and his understanding of this holistic perspective and this round economic earth that deserves further attention if we are facing another evolutionary stage of capitalism today.